right, this is Sherman Tank coming at you again with another live stream, and I got Stephen Duplantis out here, and he's my guest for tonight, and we're just going to kind of BS a little bit and kind of fill everybody in out there on what's going on here in Anchorage. And Stephen, you ran for a spot in the state, correct?
Yeah, I ran for the Senate seat in District L, which is State Senate District L. That would be people from Anchorage. That would be the southwest side of Anchorage. And I ran for that 2 years ago. I ran for the House seat in District 24. So I got a little experience of running for office. It's not it's not for the weak-hearted. You tend to get put on the grill, a lot. So especially they watch what you say and stuff. So and they take everything out of context. So
yeah. So me and give you some backstory on how me and Stephen met. We had a Back the Blue rally out here in Anchorage, and we had it had to have been 300 people, 400 people that day, and I was out walking around with a bullhorn, and I happened to see him, and we got a chance to meet. We'd been friends, I think, on Facebook, and we kind of run into each other, and we kind of struck up a little conversation, and the rest is history. And this weekend, we had a chance to sit down and actually, I think we talked for like 2.5 hours, man. I think it was a while.
It was a while. Yeah, it was, man.
So we talked about all kinds of different topics going on around on Anchorage and the mayor race and your race. And so Stephen had a really good shot at getting in. Actually was ahead by 200 votes?
I was ahead by it was 88 votes, I believe. I was ahead by, and that was in the in-person voting. And that was pretty incredible because we only raised about $2,000 for my campaign. And my opponent had over 100,000 in her account. I don't know how much she actually spent, but that's besides the point. It was like kind of the definition of fiscal conservative. I put it to use because I took what funds we had and spent it and did very well with it because we actually won the in-person vote. But when the absentee ballots came in, that's when we kind of lost it. She went ahead with 100 votes and then 200 on top of that. So she got an extra 300 votes with the absentee ballots. And the amazing thing about it is that when you look on the Division of Elections website, it tells you how many votes or how many ballots were requested, how many people requested ballots, and it says how many were sent out, and it said how many actually came in. And there's about 700, I believe 730 ballots that never came in, and whether or not they were lost, whether or not they were, just didn't get filled out. That's an awful lot. And that's just in District L. Would be District 23 and 24 of the House districts. That's statewide. That happens statewide. So I'm not sure of all the numbers in each district, but they all had a significant amount of ballots that were not returned. And to me, that causes concern coming in November. If Democrats are pushing mail-in ballots, this kind of foolishness is going to happen. People are going to get disenfranchised, So
well, it's interesting you say that because today I was actually on Facebook and I seen somebody here locally, and I'm not sure what location it was at, but they had gone by two different drop-off mailboxes at a post office, and both of the mailboxes that were there, again drop-off mailboxes, they were completely packed.
I saw that.
And in fact, they couldn't shove their letters in there, so they drove to the next one, and it was packed. So that kind of gives you a sense of just what the post office is going through. I mean, either they're short-staffed, or they're just not picking up the mail as often as they should. So how many people got their mail in? And how many? Well, and I don't know if it was Anchorage or what. But we've seen one place that the mail carriers were destroying mail. They're throwing them in a dumpster.
Yeah.
I don't know where that was at for sure, but I think there was three different male people that were fired. One of them was on video throwing stuff in a dumpster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, the mail is only as good as the people that are delivering it. Unfortunately.
Well, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever the mayoral election was, Rebecca Logan was running up against Ethan Berkowitz, and it was his second. It would have been his second term, and of course he won. But it was the weirdest thing. That was the first mail-in ballot that the Muni used. Okay, so this is the first time it was being used, and I remember being at Rebecca Logan's campaign party that night for the election, and we were watching the website for the election totals to come in. And we waited and waited about a half hour, I guess. And you didn't even have to wait because, I mean, the mailing was already in. They already knew at that point who. And it almost, when the screen came up, it was like it was already pre-planned, if that makes any sense, you know. And during that election, there were several. I don't know how many ballots were found in Eagle River that were thrown in a dumpster or something like that. And then we had Beans Cafe. Are you familiar with Beans Cafe?
Yep.
I believe there is over 1,200 people registered to vote there. Right? That's your homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
So how many of those people actually go in and vote? And then if they do, it just draws the whole thing, and that's every city nationwide,
right?
That has homeless shelters like this that people are registered to vote, but nobody questions that, man. Nobody. Oh yeah, just go ahead and send them, and who knows who's filling those things out,
right?
And how they're filling them out. So.
Well, we know that in Anchorage that there's corruption. We know that there's a lot of things going around that's not on the up and up. Give you an example. I don't know if you've seen this yet today, but the petition that was filed against Magzalatel failed. It was the application. It was failed. So, you got people that the mayor hired that are overseeing this kind of stuff, which is honestly a conflict of interest. He doesn't want to have anybody that's backing him on the assembly get kicked out for any reason. And then now I've just heard this a couple days ago. I do believe now everybody we're talking about right now, unless we say different, they're leftist assembly members. The only two in there that are not leftist is going to be Jamie Allard and her last name's Kennedy. I think is it last name Kennedy or first name Kennedy? Anyway, they're from Eagle River.
Yeah.
And they are fighting their butts off against the leftist assembly members. I mean, they are really working hard. And Jamie's an inspiration. I've talked to her several different times. Enjoy her presence, enjoy being around her. And, we're fighting, and it's not just there. So one of the assembly members, what the hell's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue. She's actually my assembly member. Is going to be replacing someone who won a race because she's got a better name recognition. So the Democrat Party thinks that her name is
LaFrance.
Yes,
Suzanne LaFrance.
Suzanne LaFrance. Okay, so they're replacing, I think, Lee with her because she's got the name recognition. So then the assembly gets to choose who replaces LaFrance, and they get to remain in there until the next election. Now LaFrance has not been in the assembly very long. I think her election's up or her term is up in 2023. So that means that she won in 2020, correct? Is it 3-year term?
She just I believe it's 2 years, but it's staggered. You have two representatives in our area, South Anchorage. It's Weddleton and LaFrance,
right? And
it's staggered. So she just lost. She just won. Rick Castillo was running against her. He got a decent amount of votes too, but and then Weddleton is up in this coming April. So it's every you get to vote for somebody new.
See, I heard LaFrance was 2023 and Weddleton was 2022, at least on their bios.
Yeah,
I looked at
that may be right. And if that's the case, then yeah, we got another. I mean, this is another. You have. I believe LaFrance is, like you said, he's a full blown Democrat.
hmm
But Weddleton came in as an independent, but he's got left
Yeah.
leanings,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Most of your independents are. Yeah,
He always kind of goes with the popular vote.
yeah,
If
he
he
does.
never breaks a tie for us.
Yeah,
In fact, they had a photo op for him today on Facebook
I saw
on
that
the
too.
South Anchorage thing.
Yeah.
So they're never shy about catching a photo op.
No.
It's funny, and when I mentioned Weddleton, so I've been in politics, looking into this kind of stuff for 5 or 6 years, and I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on a lot of things when it comes to what I would do if I were in there. And
Mhm.
I'm not declaring it yet, but yeah, if I was going to run, it would be him I would run against, just
Yeah.
because he is pretty wishy washy. And and you look at their bios, man. Everybody in there has got, and including himself, they've got um, like all their schooling and their colleges and stuff like that are super left leaning colleges. You got some
Yeah.
that are Berkeley. You got some that are. I think there's one that I seen in there that was Yale. Not saying Yale is completely leftist, but it's leftist.
He actually went to he got his degree, I believe it was at Tulane in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is a very left leaning now. Back
hmm
when I was growing up, it wasn't,
Right.
but that entire I mean, you have all the universities in New Orleans that heck, man. There was a guy with Loyola University is, in fact, Tulane and Loyola are right next to one another in New Orleans, right?
hmm
And my dad used to work for American Sugar, which is Domino Sugar, and he was in management. And back in the day, when the unions were coming in, he was having problems because of management union stuff. He'd stay, man, they'd be in negotiations. He'd be gone like for days. He'd have
Right.
to stay at the refinery, doing these negotiations. But anyway, make a long story short, the guy who was headed up the unions is a known communist. I slipped his name slips me right now. I'd have to look it up and see. But 20 years down the line after that, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, he wound up becoming one of the head professors at Loyola University. And this is a guy who's a known communist with a union back in the 70s running universities now.
Well,
And
that's
this is what we have.
that's become pretty common. I mean, look at who was running the um oh, what, not Comey or Clapper, but the other guy. Oh, what's his name? He's in their ranks, Comey and Clapper, and then he was running the well, not the CIA. Maybe was it the NSA? There was one big agency, law enforcement agency,
Mm-hmm.
that he was running, and he was a self-proclaimed communist, and
Yeah,
he and that proclamation came out in like the 80s. And,
yeah.
I remember growing up in the 80s, because that's my generation, uh, where we weren't real friendly to the communists, and
No.
how they end up in a huge spot like this guy did in law enforcement, essentially
Mm-hmm.
blows my mind. I'm trying to think I'll come up with it here in a minute.
Yeah.
I can picture his face, and I just can't. Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, John Brennan. Okay,
Okay.
he's a
Yeah.
self-professed communist, and he believes in it 100%. And yet he had, not now, but he had one of the highest-ranking uh, law enforcement officers in the country under Obama.
Mm-hmm.
So it blows my mind that we've got these people in there, and of course with the schooling and everything nowadays, a lot of the professors that are out there are not only teaching the stuff, but they're out there acting it with Antifa and all these other idiots that are out there
Mm-hmm.
destroying our cities and
Oh yeah.
shooting people now in the streets. That happened Saturday. We've got a lot of things that are going on. We do have a congressional Black Caucus coming up here on the 7th, and there's going to be a Black Lives Matter march with them, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the city's bracing, I guess, for that. Last time that Black Lives Matter was here, they had all those stores downtown boarded up, expecting something bad to happen. So that kind of tells you that Anchorage is prepared for it. But luckily during those times it was summertime and there was a lot of daylight out and nothing major could happen. Now that we're getting pushing toward darkness, it's a little different. So hopefully nothing major happens. We're going to kind of keep an eye on it and see what happens from there. But there's a lot of things going on right now here in the state. We're trying to figure out what our next move is after this Zolotel application thing failed. Yeah, and I don't think that there's enough time. People have asked me left and right about doing that on the mayor. There's not enough time.
No,
he's out in April.
He's gone, and it's the thing we need to work on. We need to work on who's his replacement's going to be.
It's going to be.
I think that's where our focus needs to be.
Well, and you didn't completely back out of everything after your loss. You were deciding to run a write-in ballot, right? You're going to be on the write-in.
Yeah, I'm going to do the write-in. I've got nothing to lose on that. The main thing is to get the name out and to get people to actually write it in. And Lisa Murkowski won her Senate seat through a write-in. Yep. And of course she had a ton of money backing her, but it doesn't matter how much funding I get in this thing, because the money shouldn't be such an issue, and we place it on that, because if we could just learn to live within our means, any budget can be. We do it at our house here. Our financial stuff we do. We stay within our means. We don't go beyond our means. When you start going beyond your means, that's when I'm not looking to get flashy, videos and talking head scenes and all this other stuff. I'm just gonna be real. I'm gonna set my camera up. I'm gonna tell you what I want to tell you. I'm gonna put it out on the internet, and I'm not gonna go find some serene place over here in the district and living in Anchorage all my life, and I haven't been, but this is the mantra,
Right.
And I love this state, its beauty and everything else, and you just give that Alaskan scenery. You see it at all the politicians, all of them are doing that stuff,
right?
And they all hit on the same talking points. They all hit it, the PFD, the budget, blah, blah, blah. You want to hear that? Look, people are hurting right now. Look, I just lost my job today, dude. So this COVID stuff is out of control. This is where you're going to meet people on the road with this. And if you keep that in the forefront, and if I keep pushing that, what she did to the Alaskan people when in their time of need, I think I have a strong chance of pulling this off. And of course, not only me, it's my God's going to do it, not, because he's in control of it all anyway. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, right now, Anchorage is very hungry for change. Alaska in general is really hungry for change. That was kind of proven by the primaries and stuff, and how people voted. And I mean, what was there, 6 or 7 different, I think it was 6 or 7. That was kicked off, the incumbents that were kicked out. I mean, they just boom, you screwed up one time, bye, see you later. And Anchorage is really good about that. Alaska is really good about that. You don't do the job for the citizens here, we don't need you no more. And
they tend to hold grudges, man.
Well, and that's kind of how Alaska is. We don't have time for someone to screw us over. We're out here living our lives and working our butts off and doing the things we have to do to survive. And when I say survive, down to the people down in the lower 48, I literally mean survive. With the cold winters and stuff like that. Now the summertime, that's a little different. But you have 8 to 9 months of winter. It's September right now, and it's raining like crazy, and it's a little colder. We just turned the heater on last night or night before. So it's one of those things where people just don't have the time for it anymore. And we are hungry for change, and the primaries definitely prove that. And we have people in there that a lot of people never really heard of, that made it through. So I was hoping that I was hoping you would get through. Unfortunately, I couldn't vote for you because you had me in the wrong freaking district. I live in one place and they had me voting in another. I still got my vote in, but not for who I wanted to vote for. We had a list. We had a list that was going around online on who to vote for and who not to vote for. And there was big check marks next to the ones you didn't want to vote for. And the von Imhoff was definitely a big red check mark.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, unfortunately, but there's still a chance, and I'm pulling for you. Our discussion that we had this last weekend, I think it was good. I think that we both kind of understand each other a little bit. I think we know what direction that the city needs to go, and I think that us working together and getting you pushed over that limit, I think, is the way to go. So I'm all in for you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. We have to realize that that we were hurting before this COVID stuff, man. This when Ethan Berkowitz got elected, you saw a steady decline in this city, and then when SB 91 got passed, that was the most brilliant idea ever invented on
So fill in the people that are watching. What was SB 91?
SB 91 pretty much emptied the jail cells out. It took certain crimes and felonies and raised the bar. We started having people, because it would be like, let's say, I think the limit was for shoplifting was $800, something like that. It was something that used to be like 200, and then they raised it up. So it pretty much, I had a friend of mine that used to work at Walmart, they could not catch people who were he worked in security. They could not catch people if they were stealing stuff, if they, because the cops wouldn't come out and do anything.
Right.
People were getting their cars stolen because the charges for that even went up, and they weren't arresting people for that. So I mean, we had an influx, shoplifting, cars being stole. At the church where my home church, we would find. In fact, we had the tires slashed one time during a service. We'd find syringes where our kids would be playing. And what kind of got the ball rolling with that, I actually went to my first assembly meeting and spoke out against that, and it kind of got the ball rolling with some stuff when at least with the church side of it, and thank God it did get repealed, but the damage was done, man. They started emptying the jails out. And they weren't. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Now they turned in. They I think, if I remember right, when I first moved up here, this is what I heard. Didn't they turn in like auto theft into like a misdemeanor? It wasn't grand theft auto anymore. It was a misdemeanor.
Yeah, it was a misdemeanor, and they never. They never bothered going to catch the people. They had the one guy. He was part of. They called him the A team. And he would go out looking for the cars, and he'd find them, and he'd call the police department.
I actually follow that guy. I'm actually friends with him.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing the police job because the police couldn't do their job.
Yeah,
and then I believe he got in trouble because he was chasing somebody, and shots were fired or something.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, and he got in trouble. Now here he is, pretty much doing the work of like Batman, right? And he's like going out doing the police's job, and he's going to get in trouble for it, and oh man, it was just a backwards way of thinking. So we were hurting before this, man. We were hurting way before the homeless people, because I remember when we first moved back to Alaska in 2011, and I can go back even before when we were here in the early 2000s. When we lived we were at Allison Air Force Base. My wife was stationed there, and we would come to Anchorage for a holiday, vacation, or something. It was beautiful here, man. And what amazed me is that there was no homeless on the street because it was illegal for them to be on the streets panhandling, and they enforced that stuff. Well, SB 91 got rid of that. All right, so all of a sudden they started hanging out everywhere, and then they took over the parks. Mm-hmm. And they made campgrounds in the parks, and then the ACLU came in and said, well, we can't throw them out because because you'd have to give them a 15-day eviction notice, and it's for what? They don't even own the land. How can and it just became a big fiasco.
Right.
And here we are paying tax dollars. My property taxes go towards the upkeep of these parks. I can't even use them. Because in fact, just a few weeks ago, I was walking up Campbell Creek, and there's a big, beautiful bridge. I don't know if you know, there's it goes across Campbell Creek, and then I was walking across there, and I had, somebody just kind of laid out, had their campsite, radio going, lady on there. And I'm like taking a picture of it. I was like, this is it, Well, come to find, it was just a lady sleeping there. Come to find out, her husband or boyfriend was in the bushes. I guess he was crapping. I don't know what the heck he was doing. And he was like, "You pervert! You're taking a picture of my wife." And I was like, dude, I said, maybe you ought to get yourself a job and get your wife a place to live. Yeah. Talk to me about being, what the heck? You got a little mad.
This is what happens whenever, when it's a red city or a red state puts in a Democrat in there, is they turn it into the city that they came from. And guess where Berkowitz came from? He came from San Francisco.
San Francisco. Oh my gosh, man. San Francisco's.
So, yeah, I mean, I've seen it time and time again. I mean, I grew up in Colorado, and Colorado was the reddest state in the friggin' union when I was there. Everybody had a shotgun. They had a rifle. You could go out and you could go to school with guns in the back windows. Nobody even blinked an eye. And of course, the first big school shooting that was really all over the news. So here's a quick rundown on Columbine. So this is something that is kind of unique, and I actually was talking to a guy today about that. I knew those two kids. So if you've ever seen the movie Bowling for Columbine, that was about those two kids. I work in a bowling alley. I sold bowling pins to those two kids 2 weeks prior to that shooting. Now, we sold bowling pins to sheriff's departments and police departments all over the place, so it was no big deal. But whenever I actually got a chance to meet the idiot that did the Bowling for Columbine thing, he kept trying to
Michael Moore?
Yep. He kept trying to sneak people in to interview everybody in the bowling center that we were in. And there ended up being a big lawsuit over that. He couldn't use our stuff, so he went to another bowling center in Littleton and shot the footage there. And the whole damn thing was just a bunch of crap.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't want to say that's my claim to fame, but we had sold bowling pins to those two kids 2 weeks before, and the day of the shooting, they used to have PE class in our bowling center every morning. And 2 weeks, or that morning, the morning of the shooting, those are the only two kids that didn't show up. So we had a pretty good clue on who was doing the shooting, because it was all over the news. Our bowling center got locked down. The whole neighborhood got locked down, where the school was. It was it was insane for like a 12-hour period. No one could drive through that area. So yeah, it was just kind of a weird deal. But Colorado was red. I mean, it was seriously solid red when I grew up there, and then it went purple, and then all of a sudden now it's blue, and it's like, what the hell happened? And it's because people from California moved into Colorado and flipped a city. And they're notorious for going into the population centers and just crapping on them. And
doing that. Yeah. We lived in my wife's first duty station was Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. And we lived there for 2 years. Beautiful. And that was in 92, 93. And it was beautiful. And then when we went back, my dad passed away in 2012. And we going down to New Orleans, we had a layover in Denver, and then we went to New Orleans. Coming back, we had another layover in Denver, but we said, I just wanted to take some time to regroup. My dad just passed, got a lot of, had a lot of stuff going on. So let's go back to Colorado Springs and spend a couple of days there. Dude, I mean, the change was incredible. I'm not kidding you, dude. And I'm sure even between 2012 and now, it's gotten even worse.
Well, so Colorado started changing to blue, and it started in the cities like Boulder. And so Boulder, I grew up and I used to live in the Front Range. I used to be in Denver, Fort Collins, and I used to be in the band scene. So I used to play drums and stuff all the time down in Fort Collins. And so the Fort Collins, Loveland, Boulder, which is up in the hills a little bit more. Boulder was, that college up there. As soon as they started talking about legalizing weed, you couldn't go anywhere without smelling it. I mean, it was everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And I know it hasn't been that long ago, but people were smoking it on the streets up there. It was such a liberal haven that everybody and their brother wanted to go to Berkeley College, or not Berkeley, Boulder College, CU.
Yeah.
And so that's the city that the state started turning blue in, and then it filtered into Denver, and then it filtered out to Fort Collins, and it just spreads. I mean, it's like a virus. It just completely consumed that area. So now from Fort Collins, which is as far north as you can get in Colorado, all the way to Pueblo, which is about as far south as you can go, is solid blue. And it's sad. My dad still lives out there in eastern Colorado. His area is still red because it's a farm country, but it's sad to see it. California is the only real red state that real blue state that I've ever lived in, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it more than 10 years. That was it. It seemed like driving. I used to drive through San Francisco, and San Francisco, when I first got there, was not too bad, and then every 6 months you start seeing more stuff and more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And then it got to the point where they were literally hiring people to clean crap off the streets. And I don't mean like trash. I mean human crap.
Human crap
off the streets with these. And here's a sick thing about San Francisco. They're not doing it with shovels. They're not doing it with brooms. They've got these huge spray trucks. What do you think happens when you spray high pressure water on human feces? It's everywhere. It goes everywhere. It's not just contained. Everywhere that water hits, it's disgusting. And and these people get paid astronomical amounts of money to do this stuff, and they're city employees. They're getting paid like $40 an hour to go out there and basically clean up human waste. It's ridiculous. Man. I mean, I don't make $40 an hour, not even close, but I couldn't do that. Hazmat suit or not, I couldn't do it.
The sad thing is that there's actually a call or a market for somebody to actually do that.
I know.
I mean, we're supposed to be a civilized society, aren't we? I mean, we should, and dude, don't get me wrong. I have compassion. I don't have empathy. All right. I have compassion. All right. For homeless people. All right. But there reaches a point because I've dealt with them. I used to work, we did work at the Gospel Rescue Mission here. We go on Saturday nights and do a service for them and talk to these guys, and they're in need just like everybody else, and they're humans and they want to be uplifted and they want to, they want to be encouraged, but what they don't want, and time again, the people I've talked to that have wanting to come off the street, they have to want to come off.
Right.
If they don't want to come off, there's no sense in making them a nice place to live because they're not going to take care of it because they want to do drugs instead, or they're going to do this instead. And I really don't care if it's not politically correct to talk like this. It's the God's honest truth, because the mayor, I don't care how many buildings he buys. I don't care how many programs he wants to start for the homeless. It ain't going to work unless they want it. Now, you see, the only reason he wants it is because homelessness is a big money. It's a big money maker. Where do you think they got the money to pay for those trucks in San Francisco? That's probably federal grants or something like that. Somebody's making bank, man. The guy driving the truck's making bank. And God forbid, because we get rid of an entire industry if we got rid of homelessness. And that's not the point. The point is not to get rid of it. The point is to perpetuate it. And we're doing a dang good job of it.
Well, and we discussed this weekend when I talked to you. The only way that you're going to get people out of that, it's a cycle. Okay, so I used to smoke cigarettes, and I know what it took to quit. It was tough. It's not something as easy. You have to want to do it.
I did too.
It took me 2 years to completely quit. When I met my wife, she's allergic to it, so I did everything in my power to quit. And I didn't try patches, but I tried everything else. Chewing gum and everything else. I tried it all. Finally was able to break the habit and was able to stop after like 10 years of smoking. And it was better for me. The only bad thing about it, and it's not a bad thing, but I gained like 40 pounds Because everything tasted good, right? So you're eating more.
That's what happens, man.
So, but one of the things that they have to do is not only do they have to want it, but I think that if the city's going to assist them, and no matter who is the mayor, is they have to remove them and they have to get them away from their vices. You can't you can't open up a homeless shelter right next to a liquor store. That's just stupid. And that's kind of what they're doing down there, like with the Golden Lion in Midtown, right? So what's the closest liquor store? It's like 2 blocks away. I mean,
yeah, it is right on the other side of the Seward Highway. Yeah.
Seriously. And then not only that, but so they're going to have these people that are going into I think it's the Golden Lion. And that's like one of the most dangerous intersections in town. They're building that right there to where you step off the curb, you're done. Your history. So, I feel for the people in Midtown. I know that there's a lot of good people there that are fighting this, and they have, they're unfortunately they were unsuccessful with Zolotel, because obviously the clerk is hired by the mayor, so they've got their interests that they got to protect or whatever. But the thing is we got to figure out what the next step's going to be. We've had rallies out the butt that did move some things. Now here's the funny thing. So we had rallies, like 4 or 5 rallies, and the mayor tried to get us recused of rioting. They tried to get us removed off the property at the library. And then here's the funny thing. So the hockey moms and dads get all up in arms, and they're fighting the mayor as well. And the reason the hockey moms and dads are pissed off is because the Muni is using one of the ice rinks to house the homeless, and the ice rinks are not full. They're not full by any means. So they go out and have a rally, and next thing you know, they're getting ready to reopen Bimboki. Or is it?
Yeah.
Is it Bimbo? Yeah, I think it's Bimboki.
It's Bimboki, yeah.
So it's the funny thing was whenever they had that rally, 2 of the assembly members went out and talked to them. They're not scared of the hockey moms and dads, but they sure are scared of everyone else. It just blows my mind.
But it doesn't matter that an entire mall shut down.
Yep. Mall.
With countless numbers of businesses that have gone under, and then here I am, a casualty of that now. Although my job is not in Anchorage, but the owners are. So I mean, it's beyond me. They're not doing anything more, and it's even more so with on the state level. It's like the state level just just let Anchorage do whatever they want, and in the meantime, there's nothing. There's nothing from the state. It's like crickets, man.
It's almost like the state. So this is my opinion, and people can take it for what it's worth. When I first came up here, I met Dunleavy. I liked the guy. I talked to him. Good, strong handshake. The guy's 6'6" or something. He's huge. Big, tall guy. He has a good presence. And then, I felt pretty good about the guy. And then the recall started, and it's almost like he got neutered, right? It's like he didn't know how to act. He didn't know what to do, and he's still like that. And I like Dunleavy as a person. I think he's is probably a little shell shocked on the recall, but I think he has to realize that you look at the primaries and you look how Alaskans voted this primary season, and that right there should be enough proof that we're done taking crap. And he's got backing. He just needs to use it. And I said this to I've said this a couple times about the new mayoral candidates, that they're not going to win unless they use strong enough language. And you said this to me. The rules have changed. Why aren't we playing by them?
Yeah.
So
play by the new rules, man. I mean, they changed the rules. Let's play for it. And I think that I like the governor too. Met him a few years ago. In fact, he called me when I won the in person. I missed the phone call because people were calling me out of the wazoo, man. So I was letting my phone go to voicemail because I didn't know who was calling me, and one of the phone calls was him, and I was like, dang it, man, these other fools are calling me up. I wish I could have, I would have known it was him, but Pretty cool. I got his personal number now because it came up on the thing. But
That's
anyway,
cool.
but I'm not going to use it in anything. I did call him back and just say thanks, But of course, everything happened when it did. But
Right, right.
to get on, I think he needs to realize that the last two governors were one-term governors, right? So you had pretty much, Parnell pretty much finished out uh, Sarah Palin's term,
Mm-hmm.
and then Walker came in. Who was before Walker? Who was that? Was that it wasn't Treadwell? Was it? He was the lieutenant governor. I think he was Parnell's lieutenant governor.
I'm trying to think who it
Meet
was. So
Treadwell.
that would have been right before I left. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, I wasn't in the politics as much 10 years ago as I am now. So
yeah.
I'd have to look it up. But
Well, I wasn't up here either, so kind of before Walker is a little bit. I can look it up here.
I remember Walker, and I remember
Yeah,
Palin, and I remember
yeah.
the last thing I remember from Palin. I had moved down to Texas, and I had a PFD coming, and she gave back a bunch of money for overpaying taxes. So we ended up with like $6,000 a piece, or no, I
Yeah.
think we ended up with $6,000 total between me and my wife at the time. And it paid for my move down to Texas. It covered some bills. That was kind of nice. But you'll never see another PFD like that as long as we
Oh,
don't get good leadership in there that's got some balls that can reel
yeah.
everything back in. We need not only the governor, but we need the friggin' legislature.
Yeah.
We got to remember that too. And
Sure we do.
even in Washington D.C., Trump can't do anything until we take back the House.
Yeah.
So, we
Yeah,
got to do it.
Yeah, it was Palin and then Parnell and
Okay.
then Walker, both one terms, and I don't even know if Parnell finished out. He finished out Palin's term and then didn't get elected or something. But you said it earlier that when you're not doing a job, Alaskans are tough, man.
Yep.
It's like the I don't know if you ever used to watch that show. Was it Showtime at the Apollo?
Yep.
And the people would come. It was a talent show, and they come out, and if they didn't like it, and they started throwing things at you.
Yep.
And they took that big thing and pulled them off the side. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Alaskans are resilient that way, and don't piss them off, man.
Well, I think that we have to find a way to get the legislature from Juneau to here. I think, rename the capital. Obviously, most cities, the capital city is the biggest city in the state. Juneau's far from being the biggest city, and it's the hardest city to get to, unless you're going to the Aleutian Islands. You can't drive there. You can boat there, but it takes you like a day, 2 days, or more. You got to fly in there, and it's like $300-400 for a flight. It's not cheap. Who's got the time to go down there? And here we are in this day and age where we're flying our senators and people down there that live in Anchorage, and there's more of them here than there are that live down there. So we look at the money that we're wasting by sending these people down there. And then how long were they out of session where they're getting paid per diem? I've seen that. And I'm like, holy crap, dude. We're paying these people and they're sitting at home with their thumbs up their butt.
Yeah.
And it's like, it blows my mind. And I have a friend of mine that's actually in there right now with Josh Revac. And I use the term friend. It's more like acquaintance with Josh. When I knew him, and I've interviewed him before on here, back then he was a good, had stars in his eyes, and he was ready to go. And he gets in there, and then he ends up getting into the binding caucus. It's like, what happened? You were a good conservative, and you were doing things the right way, and then it's like, what happened? He got a little bump up, and he got put in a different position, and it's like he went brain dead. And it's So, I like Josh a lot. I mean, I met him before he ever ran for anything. I believe that he's a true conservative guy. It's a shame. I don't know if it was political pressure. I don't know what was involved in that, but it was completely blindsided me.
I think like some kind of voodoo gree stuff going on down there where, and they just kind of like, they cut chickens' heads off and do put. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
how does a person change that way? I mean, what? I don't know. Either he's offered something, or there's something dangling over his head, or I don't know. I don't know, and that's beyond me. How somebody can they run, but then again, that's pretty much every politician. They'll run on I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then they get down there and they don't do this, and they don't do this, and they don't do this. And they pretty much maybe, and I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe he got a taste of, hey, we'll let you be on this committee, and if you do this and this,
Yeah.
and then you can do it, and then and then a lot of people I know will use the excuse of like, well, I'm just doing it so I can get a foothold, so I can have more, influence to get
Yeah.
something done, if that makes sense.
Well, I know.
But
I have a friend of mine out in the valley that was running against the Biden caucus, and that was LD Howard, and
mhm.
I was really, really hoping he'd win. The guy's a super good conservative, very big statured guy, and he did pretty good for his first race. I went out and actually supported him during that night, and the numbers started coming in, and it got pretty evident toward the end of the night that he wasn't going to get there. But
Yeah.
I've seen the fire in his belly. I've seen the spirit in his eyes and stuff, and I can see that he's probably going to do it again, and he learned from it. He learned what he's had to do, and I think that's the one thing that the Alaskans have to do is we have to learn from our mistakes and
hmm
not make them again. If you continue to do the same thing over and over again, it's a definition of insanity.
Yeah.
And I think that Alaskans learn pretty quick, and they get a bad taste in their mouth, and they want to get rid of the person. And right now, the worst person that's given us a bad taste has got to be Berkowitz.
Yeah.
He's got to go. We got to make sure he can't touch the governor seat.
Oh no, dude.
That's a
No,
disaster waiting to
he
happen.
needs to. I think he should just go back to San Francisco. He'd probably do a lot better there. You
Well,
know.
the state may turn red down in California this year. It's the Democrats down there that can't afford to live there. They're fleeing. They're doing the same thing
Yeah.
in New York and New Jersey. They're fleeing.
Yeah.
And the scary part about that is they're not only fleeing, but they're going to red states.
Yeah. And what, are they going to take that crap to a red state and change it? I mean, don't come here doing that. Stay in. If you don't like the way that you made your state, that's not my problem.
Yep.
You need to fix it. Don't come here and screw ours up. And yeah, I see that happening a lot. I was listening to Glenn Beck today, and he had a guy on there that wrote a book. Man, I can't think of the name of the book, but basically he's telling you about what might happen if or Trump wins, or if he doesn't win. These things could still happen, or probably will. You're looking at states wanting to succeed, succeed from the union, because like if Trump wins, then California would want to secede. Well, that's all right with me. If California wants to go ahead. You can become your own country. That'd be fine. But there's a lot involved in that. But
Right.
we're not looking at the end of this coming November 3rd. We're actually just looking at the beginning of it.
Yep.
And a lot of things will happen. And it may be the opposite. If Biden wins, well, excuse me, if Harris wins,
There you go.
yeah. She would you'd have red states wanting to get away from that and wouldn't have anything to do with that. So either way. However, during the presidential election, I really don't think we have a problem with President Trump not winning, because he will get the electoral votes. He may not get the popular vote, but he'll definitely get the electoral votes. And what I'm concerned about is the Senate and Congress level on states, with the mail-in stuff, because
Right.
the mail-in's not going to affect the presidential, thing, but it will affect the other, and in the local elections too, like we're having with our state stuff. So that's what I'm concerned, because if you get the because we have the Senate now is red.
Mhm.
If we don't have a red wave, come this
Yeah.
November, and they turn blue, then we're in for hell.
Well,
I mean, really.
it's going to be interesting if we figure out a way to win the House. We already have the Senate, so if we end up winning the House, How many Republicans are going to actually work with Trump? That's the thing I'm worried about. So everybody knows we got a bunch of rhinos in there. You know, you got your Mitt Romneys and your John McCains and those kinds of people in there, and they're never Trumpers. They've never wanted to work with Trump over anything. Trump said some nice things about Mitt Romney, and Romney still bites at him. You know, those kinds of people, they don't deserve to serve as a public official, in my opinion. You know, Trump's not perfect. Everybody knows that. He's done things in the past. But you know what? He's done a damn good job for the country itself, you know, with the economy and everything else. And then you turn around and the Democrats crash it. So, you know, until we get both sides of the House and Senate in Washington, I'd prefer to see most states get House and Senate on the red side. You know, I wouldn't even mind it if it was balanced, but you have to, like Anchorage, for example. Okay, I wouldn't mind if our assembly was balanced, just not so heavily favored one side. And you know, of course, I would favor it better if it was red. But I mean, at least balance it. And I think that there needs to be something on the laws that it has to be some kind of. You can't do it because political parties. But I think that there needs to be something written somewhere that you know, a fair and balanced assembly, or a fair and balanced.
You can't stack it, to make it, you know, fit your agenda.
I think
that's exactly what it's got.
I think our forefathers originally intended for something like that to be there, because you can't have one party speaking for the entire public, because there's too many. You're going to have too many differences. Now, if you had two parties speaking or three parties speaking, and say it was in thirds, not halves, but in thirds, then I think that you would have a pretty good discussion across the board, and then there wouldn't be as much blame being thrown around about whose fault this is or that is. Well, maybe you'll get one party ganging up on the other two, or vice versa. But I think you'd have a lot more balanced thing. I think that things would be a lot more peaceful. I consider myself like an independent Republican, and when I say that, I'm kind of to the middle. I like my guns. I don't like the government intruding on things. You know, I like less government, not more government. You know, the NSA spying on me and looking through my phones and crap like that. I don't need that. You know, I need to be able to say what I feel when I want to say it. You know, not get my Facebook profile banned. For doing nothing but wanting to protect everybody in the country. You know,
that's all we look for, man.
You know, we're living in a semi quasi police state right now, and most of that police state was created by the Democrats. So I don't know if you know this or not. Maybe you know. So when Trump took office, one of the first things he did, and it was an executive order that he did. He put an executive order on there to where any new bills that are passed or any new laws that are passed to have to fall off the books. So the problem is there's so many, and these are federal laws, of course. There's so many laws on the books. He could do that for 100 years and still not scratch the surface.
Wow.
I mean, literally, there's so many weird laws that are out there. I need to do a show one of these days on just the weird state laws, because there's a bunch. Like you can't wear like high heels while you're fishing or some weird crap like that. You know what I mean? And that are still on the books, and people still get tickets for that crap. I read something somewhere. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent, but you know, I think that the people in Anchorage are very hungry for change. I think you would be a great change. And you know, I think that, you know, we connected when we had our discussion, and we had a chance to listen to each other. And I think that we need to do that more often. I think that there's people out there that would learn a lot more about their politicians, and this is why I respect you, because you took the time to do it. And I don't look at you like a politician. I look at you like a brother, right? I look at you like someone that has something in common with me, and we have the same goal in mind. And you know, you see the people out there running right now, like Al Gross. Okay, I've listened to this guy's ads like for the last 4 or 5 days in my vehicle, and it makes me sick to hear him, because I have in work, I have a postcard that's advertising for him from San Francisco, and I know
my wife saw that. Yeah, it came in. Yeah,
I have multiple ones multiple friends that have posted pictures from Connecticut, from Washington, from where the hell was the other one? There was another one that was in another Western state. But since when was it okay for outside states to interfere in another state's election? That's almost as bad as Russia interfering in the United States election, right?
Yeah.
I mean, each state is its own state. So why are we allowing, Washington or California to dictate who we elect? It blows my mind that that's even going on here. Yeah, how much money was spent on that? That shows you how deep the pockets are. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was. We got one. I think my wife said it was Elise Galvin from like some Oregon or something that was paid for. I forget where it came from, but same type of thing. It's like and you look at that. That's why they don't want to move Juneau, because Juneau is a direct access to Seattle, and Seattle freaking runs everything in Anchorage. Because if you've been to Seattle lately, within the last couple of years. Anchorage, I like to call it Diet Seattle is Anchorage because it's not quite as big, but it's still we're like a suburb of Seattle now. We're not, we're not, and even Alaska Airlines is headquartered in Seattle. That should tell you something right there.
Yeah,
and so yeah, they and what gets me, we talked about this the other day too, is that I didn't hear one peep during my campaign from the Republican Party, and when you realize who I was up against and the amount of money that she has, it makes me sick to realize that they would choose money over integrity and the platform that we stand for, because she has not voted according to our platform whatsoever. And nobody's holding her accountable. Why? Because she's got all of this, man. And if they go against her, and I really don't care if I lose support from them. I really don't, because I don't have it anyway. So why should I be afraid of that? So I'm just going to wait and see if I get any calls, from my district chair. In fact, during the other election, I did get a call from the District 23's district chair. They had like a debate, not a debate, but more or less the candidates could go in there and speak, and we all showed up. Very interesting time. It was me and Von Imhoff and Connie Doherty and the other lady who's, her name escapes me right now, that was running against her for the representative seat. But the party is very partial to money.
Well,
and that made.
I told you about the story where me and Sarah Boyer, the lady that I helped, I'm not going to say I do it, the lady I helped take Anchorage, taking back Anchorage. She started the group, and we decided one day to have an organizational meeting out at Tacotnu at the theater out there that's closed down, that brand new nice theater out there that's shut down because of COVID. We decided to have a meeting out there, organizational meeting in the parking lot. And Glenn Cleary from the Republican Party decides to show up, sits out there for 20 minutes and just listens to us. We were actually having a town hall kind of thing where concerned citizens showed up to this thing, and they wanted to voice their concerns and stuff like that on the direction that this group was going to go. So, we're passing the microphone around, and Glenn Cleary's standing there. I didn't have a clue who the guy was, being kind of fresh back up here. And he leaves. And then someone leans over to me and he goes, you know who that guy was? I said, I ain't got a clue. I thought he was just listening to listen. He said, that's Glenn Cleary. That's the head of the Republican Party. Now, don't you think that the head of the Republican Party would want to connect with the voters in their party?
Absolutely.
Right? You think that they'd want to introduce themselves? So I think that what we want to do, and I hate to say this, I don't hate to say this, but I think that the Republican Party here is going to have a hostile takeover. I think it's going to have people like you and myself and other people that can win races get in there and just say, you know what, we're hollowing it out. We're going to start it back up, and we're going to have some balls. We're going to use terms that are probably going to upset some people. It may not be PC, but you know what? we're done taking the crap. And the thing is, and I explained this to you, we literally have the biggest rebel on the planet sitting in the White House right now.
Yeah.
And we're not using him. The Republican Party is not really using him. And he's proven he can win. He's proven he can completely live in the heads of all the Democrats out there. He hasn't paid for advertising on any of the news stations in how long? I mean, 4 years straight, he has not been out of their mouth. And
no, he doesn't pay for anything, but yet he's mentioned every single day.
And
every day.
And like 20, 30 times a day. So he's living in their heads, and they're not living in his, and he's loving it. I hate to say this, but the dude's loving it. He's a showman. He knows what he's doing. And, he's busted his butt. And he's had to go through some crap, too. But, he understood what it was whenever he ran. And he broke the Republican Party. He really broke the Republican Party. And they don't know what the hell to do with him. They need to embrace him right now. And they need to, take people like him and run with it.
Sure, man.
Not be scared to say what you feel, And, there's a bunch of people out there that, you mention something like, oh no, we can't do that. It's too much like the Democrats and stuff like that. Well, you know what? Again, they wrote the rules. They rewrote the rules. And you know what? What's good for the goose, brother, is good for the gander.
That's right. You're going to play by your rules now. You made them. Let's play by them. And because we've tried to set the rules right back to where they're supposed to be, and it ain't happening. It ain't happening. I continually see a good example. Excuse me, is is Alaska Airlines with the mask mandate. There's actually there's a law called the Air Carriers Act of 1984, I believe it was, that states that an airline cannot discriminate against you if you have a medical condition. They have to give you the means necessary you need to fly. Right? They cannot deny you for it. Now, if you can't wear a mask medically, and to me, if I can't breathe because I have a mask on, then that's a medical condition. They cannot deny you of that, and that's constitutional. Forget about the policy, right? The policy part of it, because we talked about this on Sunday. That the policy part of it, restaurants and public transportation had policy during Jim Crow laws. And they had black people sit in the back of the bus, and you had your own counter you had to sit on at a dining hall. You had your own fountain you had to drink out of. You even couldn't come in the front door. You had your own door. Why? Because they thought that black people were a disease. Yep. That's why they had it that way, right? Because they were less than. We don't want to associate with these people. Well, now it's the same. That's just, if you can't see, it's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. The game rules have changed. Yep. They've changed. So if you've changed them, then let's go full on. Let's go back to Jim Crow laws. And we'll just discriminate against everybody, because that's what we're doing anyway. Yep. Right. And but that's not in my DNA to discriminate against people. Right. But it is in my DNA to fight for somebody who is being discriminated against. Absolutely. So,
I can't fathom, I've always kind of stood up for the little guy if I could. And there's people out there that we know are good people that are being completely discriminated against in a lot of different ways. The mask thing, to me, I think that whole thing, personally, I think that it was set up to where these groups like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and places and things like that had some kind of anonymity and legal anonymity to be able to go out and do what they're doing in Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, Chicago, wherever it is they are. I mean, I talked to somebody last night. So here in Anchorage, certain banks are still open. You can still go in and make an appointment and go in. I've gone in and made a deposit in one bank, and you have to wear a mask in there. And I'll tell you right now, I feel icky as hell walking into a bank with a mask on. I feel like I'm robbing the joint, right? And I go in and I'm like looking at all the cameras, and it's like I look like I'm scoping the place out, and I get the heebie-jeebies just from doing that. And now you take these people, and the reason I bring this up is because some states don't allow you to have masks on while you're in political rallies or in gatherings, I guess is the way it is. And some states were really cracking down on it. The cops were saying you can't do that, and they were ripping off Antifa's masks and stuff like that. And then COVID pops up, and then here comes the mask mandate. Now, with the WHO, I don't know if you've seen this or not, the WHO is basically saying that the stuff that's out there, the COVID stuff's not as contagious as they thought it was. And
go figure.
That social distancing is not a thing that needs to be worried about. You don't have to wear a mask. And you know what? This is a group that the Democrats were embracing. And now they're coming out and they're saying you don't have to do that. Well, you know what? I call BS, It's like most of us knew it already. But they just want to try and keep you down. They want to try and give you a reason to conform. I mean, that's exactly what everybody's doing right now. They're conforming. Mm-hmm. And, I wear a mask when I go to certain places, not everywhere, but certain places that I know that I don't want to be the center of attention. I'll go into Costco. I want to go in there and get my crap and get out of there. I know that that's the best place to buy this stuff. I'll put my mask on while I'm in there for 15 minutes, buy my stuff, and get out of there. Mm-hmm. Walmart, I think you should put a mask on as soon as you get out of your car because you never know what you're going to come across on the way in.
No kidding.
But I went to Target, which I live 5 minutes from Target, so it's close. We can go and get little stuff there. And you walk in there, and everybody is like their head down, the masks on their face. It's like everyone's depressed. It's like, wake up, man. It's sunny outside. Go outside and have fun with your kids or whatever. It's like they have gotten so brainwashed and so programmed that I don't know if they'll ever wake up and come out of it. That's
a dang shame, man. It really is. When you think of it that way.
Well, I think we've been on for how long? We've been on for about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour.
About an hour, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go take a nap. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning to go scope out a building to kind of overwatch the city, and I am tired. It's been a long day. I've done like four or five interviews, and I did want to come on. I wanted to keep my commitment with you, and I'm glad that we did. I think it turned out to be a pretty good little thing. I think we should do it again.
Absolutely, man.
I think that us working together a little bit here or there, and I'm a little more outspoken than most. So if I scare you, it's not meant to, but
not at all, man. I might pop back at you with something. Who knows?
Good. Well, I know you're from that, down in Louisiana, so I know some people down there. We need some witch doctors up here. We need to get some, throw some spells together or something. I don't know.
I think they're in Juneau, man. They already got them down there throwing the gree on the. I got this doll. I'm gonna put these pins in, and if you don't do what I sell you,
I think we may have seen a few times that's happened. So, all right, Stephen. Well, I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna run through my outro, and then we'll get done. So,
all right, on, man.
Hang tight. Let me get this all figured out here, and we will catch y'all later. I love you all, Anchorage. Be good, vote red, and keep fighting.